Hello everyone, this is News You Can Use with the Naples Money Managers, and I am Marcus Bickle. This is Dennis Nelson, and I hope everyone is doing well after Labor Day. So what do you have for us today, Dennis?
Well, I thought I'd talk a little bit about the break that we had in the market last week.
Oh yeah, I'm sure everyone saw that.
Yeah,
we finally took a hit.
We're down 1,000 points from where we were this time last week. Pretty solid break, led by the tech stocks, and it looks like we're going to be down a little bit more today. And actually, looking back over annual trends, typically Labor Day sets a high for the market for a couple months.
Now, why would that be?
I don't know, but it just seems to be in past days people would come off their summer vacations in a mood to sell. Don't know why, but that's been the trend. And if you can rely on one trend, it's probably the market will be down in September and go to a low sometime in October, and that's really the buy point. But there's so many cross currents going on this year in particular, but every year really, that no real trend like that is foolproof.
No, absolutely.
Right. But people are in a mood to take profits apparently, and it's hit the tech sector particularly hard. One sector that's really been doing pretty good is the home builders.
Right. No, and you see buildings going up everywhere, even in our area.
And the number of houses that are for sale, I think, are at virtually historic lows. So there's less to pick from. The builders are going crazy. The Lennar makes new highs. Horton is recommended everywhere. And the suppliers like Home Depot and Lowe's.
And Lowe's, absolutely.
Doing quite well in this housing environment. So there's a lot to look for and a lot to go with investment wise. And you can't really pay attention to a 1 month move in the market. And John's going to talk a little bit later here about the historic view. Looking back over decades, how the Dow has changed, and it's a really interesting conversation.
No, absolutely. And my question would be, with the sell-off of the tech sector, with people taking profits, because it is at historic highs, most of these stocks. They made a lot of money this year. Do you think people are going to rotate into some of these more value-based areas, like the home builders, or?
Well, that would be historically what happens. You come out of growth and go into value, at least for a short period of time. My guess is it's going to be shorter than longer.
And we've seen a lot of that this year with value, for sure.
Yep, you have a 1 week rally in the value stocks, and everybody goes back to the tech. And that may well be what happens in this September.
So we'll have to keep a close eye on it. Well,
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dennis.
You're welcome.
And I'll bring in John Kincaid. Mr. Kincaid, how are you today?
I'm well, yourself?
Doing all right.
So, as an investor and as someone who, reaches out to people in the community about what we do here, a long-term approach is crucial. Simultaneously, the strategy of your portfolio manager is paramount, especially in today's market. You just heard Dennis talk about the highs in the tech sector. If I go back a lot of years, I've told this story many times, but when I was 12, my mother bought me shares in the newly minted AMCAP fund that came out in May of 1967 from the American funds. And she said to me, she goes, if you want this money when you're 21, I was 12 at the time, not interested in money, more interested in social things, I think. She said, you have to kind of tell me why they're buying the 3 top stocks in the portfolio. She gave me an annual report. And at the time, and here's the beginning of trying to ask yourself, or trying to provide a solution to, well, maybe it's time to get out of the market. Well, these techs are so high, maybe it's going to be a 1999, 2000 again. You have to realize that in 1967, when she bought those shares from me and I looked at the report, the top three stocks, top three meaning that they had the majority of the investments, the larger positions, were Boeing, Caterpillar, and John Deere. Now, if you
All
look at the
industrials.
same mutual fund today, what do you suppose is there? Netflix, Apple, and Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
That in itself is a real fascinating compare and contrast, isn't it?
Of those three, really only Apple's the only one who produces a physical product.
And that's a great point. That's a great point. Last week I talked a little bit about the Dow 30 years ago compared to today. And I kind of ran through it real quickly. But if you look at the Dow 30 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
it had material producers like Allied Signal, Aluminum Company of America, Bethlehem Steel. I don't believe we have any steel in any of the indices today. DuPont, Goodyear, International Paper. And the fascinating thing is a couple that they owned 30 years ago and is still part of the Dow today, the Walt Disney Company. But what's the difference there? 30 years ago to today. 30 years ago was when I first went to Disneyland in Anaheim, California, and it was not a streaming company or an entertainment company like it is today.
This powerhouse media company it's become after the purchase of Fox and ABC and all of those things.
Absolutely. So as I speak to investors in the community who say, well, what about this market? It's at a peak. Are we buying now? If I give you some money to invest, are you going to put it all in the market? This market has changed so dynamically that there is a new sector in this technology that are not new technology like the internet companies of 1999. So what we have is now a phase 3, if you will, or another industrial revolution, where these companies are pillars in the economy and in your home.
You can't imagine a world without Amazon.
Or Netflix.
Or Netflix, absolutely.
So, that's the fascinating thing to look at. Are we overpriced on some of the older stocks? I don't know if we are. Is value a place to go? I'll go back to the first comment. Your portfolio manager should have a strategy. And if there's not a defined strategy, and diversification is not a strategy, it's simply a technique, then you need to look further.
Well, thank you very much, John and Dennis, who is off screen. This was News You Can Use. And remember, money matters, but most importantly, you matter. Y'all have a great day.